I used to believe that betrayal came with warning signs. Late nights, hidden passwords, sudden distance. The usual things men in movies notice right before their whole life falls apart. But in my case, the worst part was how normal everything looked. My wife, Emily, still kissed me before work. She still texted me little hearts during lunch. She still laughed at my stupid jokes when we cooked dinner together. To the outside world, we were the perfect couple. 7 years of marriage. A nice house in a quiet neighborhood. Friends who said we were lucky. Parents who called us the stable ones. And I believed it. That was my mistake. It started on a Thursday night. Emily was in the shower and her phone kept buzzing on the kitchen counter. I wasn't trying to look. I really wasn't. But when a message lights up 3 times in a row, your eyes move before your brain can stop them. The name on the screen was simple. Daniel. Daniel was my best friend. The message said, "I can't stop thinking about last night." For a second I just stood there. The kitchen went quiet. The fridge hummed. Water ran upstairs. My hand was still holding the glass I had just taken from the cabinet, but I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. Last night? I had been working late last night. Emily told me she was tired and went to bed early. Daniel had texted me that same evening, saying he was busy and couldn't grab a drink. 2 people I trusted most in the world had lied to me in the same night. I wanted to storm upstairs. I wanted to throw the phone against the wall. I wanted to scream loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. But I didn't. I put the glass down. I turned the phone face down exactly how it had been. And I waited. When Emily came downstairs, wrapped in her robe, she smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Everything okay?" she asked. I looked at her face. The same face I had loved for almost a decade. The same eyes that cried during our wedding vows. The same mouth that had told me, "You're the only man I'll ever need." I smiled back. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." That was the first lie I ever told her without guilt. Over the next few days, I became a stranger in my own life. I watched everything. Her phone. Her schedule. Her excuses. The way she smiled when a message came in. The way Daniel avoided eye contact when he came over for dinner that Saturday. Yes, he came over. He sat at my table. Ate my food. Drank my beer. Laughed with my wife. And when Emily got up to check dessert, Daniel's phone lit up. I saw her name. My chest burned, but my face stayed calm. That night, after Daniel left, Emily leaned against me on the sofa and said, "You've been quiet lately." I almost laughed. Quiet? My whole life was screaming inside my head. But I just kissed the top of her head and said, "Work stress." She believed me. That was the funny thing about liars. They always think they're the only ones who can act. I didn't confront them right away. Confrontation gives people a chance to explain. To cry. To twist the story. To make you question yourself. I didn't want drama. I wanted truth. So I became patient. I checked our phone bill. Same number. Late night calls. Long ones. I checked our home security app. Daniel's car had been in my driveway twice when I was supposed to be gone. I checked our shared bank account. A hotel bar. A restaurant 40 minutes away. 2 glasses of wine on a night Emily told me she was at her sister's house. Every new detail hurt. But every new detail also made me colder. Then came the message that changed everything. Emily told me she had a work dinner on Friday night. Daniel told me he was visiting his brother. They were both lying. This time I followed. Not close enough to be seen. Just close enough to understand. Emily drove to a hotel outside the city. Daniel arrived 15 minutes later. They walked in separately like they had practiced it. I sat in my car across the street. For almost an hour I didn't move. My hands were on the steering wheel. My wedding ring felt heavier than metal should feel. That was the moment I stopped being a husband. I became a witness. The next morning, Emily came home with coffee and guilt hidden under perfume. She kissed my cheek. "Sorry I was late," she said. The dinner ran long. I looked at the woman I had planned children with. The woman I had built my future around. And for the first time I felt nothing. Not anger. Not love. Nothing. Just clarity. I contacted a lawyer that same afternoon. Her name was Rebecca Shaw. She was sharp, quiet, and didn't waste words. After I explained everything, she leaned back in her chair and said, "Do you want revenge or do you want freedom?" I thought about that. Then I said, "Both." She smiled slightly. "Then don't do anything emotional." So I didn't. For the next 3 weeks, I became the perfect husband. Flowers on Monday. Dinner on Wednesday. Compliments. Smiles. Patience. Emily relaxed. Daniel got comfortable. That was exactly what I needed. Because Daniel wasn't just my best friend. He was also my business partner. We owned a small construction company together. For years, I trusted him with accounts, clients, contracts, everything. After I found out about the affair, I started checking the business records too. And that was when betrayal became bigger than marriage. Daniel had been moving money. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Fake vendor invoices. Delayed payments. Emergency expenses that didn't exist. He wasn't only sleeping with my wife. He was stealing from me. That discovery changed the plan. This wasn't going to be a divorce anymore. This was going to be a collapse. Quietly, I copied files. Saved emails. Downloaded bank statements. Took screenshots. Built folders. One folder for Emily. One folder for Daniel. One folder for the lawyer. And one folder for the police if Daniel decided to make things difficult. Then came our anniversary party. Emily planned it herself. 7 years. She invited our families. Our friends. Daniel, of course, was invited too. She wanted a perfect evening in our backyard with lights, music, champagne, and speeches about love. I let her have it. I even paid for the catering. That night, everyone smiled under warm string lights while I stood beside my wife, wearing the same suit I wore on our wedding day. Emily looked beautiful. Daniel looked nervous but not nervous enough. At some point, Emily touched my arm and whispered, "You seem happy tonight." I looked at her and said, "I am." And I meant it. Because for the first time in weeks, I knew the truth was no longer hiding. It was waiting. When it was time for speeches, Emily's father raised a glass and talked about loyalty. My mother wiped tears from her eyes. Daniel clapped like he hadn't destroyed everything behind my back. Then Emily turned to me. "Your turn," she said. I stood up. The backyard went quiet. I held a glass in one hand and a black folder in the other. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I began. 7 years of marriage is something people usually celebrate. Trust, commitment, loyalty. Emily smiled. Daniel did not. I looked around at all the people who had believed in us. Then I said, "But tonight isn't an anniversary party anymore." The smile faded from Emily's face. I placed the black folder on the table. "Tonight is the night I stop pretending." No one spoke. I opened the folder and pulled out the first page. "Emily," I said calmly, "I know about you and Daniel." Her face turned white. Daniel stood up halfway from his chair, then froze. Emily whispered, "What are you doing?" I didn't look away. "What you should have done months ago," I said. "Telling the truth." She started shaking her head. "It's not what you think." That sentence almost made me laugh. Because it was exactly what I thought. I pulled out hotel receipts. Printed messages. Photos of Daniel's car in my driveway. Call logs. Bank records. I didn't scream. I didn't insult her. I just laid the truth on the table piece by piece until there was no room left for lies. Emily started crying. Daniel started sweating. Then I turned to him. "And Daniel," I said, "you didn't just betray me as a friend." His expression changed. He knew. I pulled out the second folder. "You stole from the company." The entire backyard went silent. Daniel's wife, who had been sitting near the back, stood up so fast her chair almost fell over. "What?" she whispered. Daniel looked at me like he wanted to disappear. I continued. "Fake invoices. Missing payments. Transfers to accounts connected to you. I have copies of everything." He stepped toward me. "Listen, man." I raised one hand. "No. You don't get to call me that anymore." He stopped. Rebecca, my lawyer, was sitting quietly near the side gate. I nodded to her. She stood up and handed Daniel a sealed envelope. "Those are your legal notices," I said. "You're removed from company operations immediately. My attorney will be contacting yours." Then I turned to Emily. "And yours are on the table." She stared at the divorce papers like they were written in another language. "You planned this?" she asked through tears. I looked at her. "No," I said. "You did. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." That was the moment everything broke. Emily's mother started crying. My father looked at Daniel like he wanted to hit him, but he didn't. Daniel's wife left without saying a word. Guests slowly stepped away from the tables, whispering, stunned, ashamed to have witnessed the end of something they thought was beautiful. Emily reached for my hand. I moved back. "Please," she said. "Can we talk inside?" I looked at the house. Our house. The house where I had cooked dinner for her after long days. The house where I had stayed up when she was sick. The house where Daniel had walked in smiling while secretly helping her destroy me. No, I said. There's nothing left inside for me. I walked out through the side gate. No shouting. No broken glass. No dramatic final scene. Just my keys in my hand, my lawyer behind me, and the sound of Emily crying somewhere under the lights she had chosen for our anniversary. The divorce was ugly. Of course it was. People who destroy your life rarely accept consequences quietly. Emily tried to blame loneliness. Daniel tried to say the money issue was a misunderstanding. Some friends told me I had gone too far by exposing them publicly. I asked those friends one question. Did they go too far when they betrayed me in my own home? Most of them had no answer. Within months, Daniel lost his position in the company. His wife left him. The investigation into the missing money became very real, very fast. Emily moved in with her sister. She called me often at first. Apologies. Tears. Memories. Then anger. Then silence. I never answered after the first week. Not because I hated her. Because I finally respected myself. The house was sold. The company survived. I survived. A year later, I moved into a smaller place near a lake outside the city. Nothing fancy. Just quiet mornings, clean air, and no lies waiting in the kitchen. One evening, I sat on the porch with a cup of coffee and watched the sun sink behind the water. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel betrayed. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel like a man who had lost everything. I felt free. People think revenge is about destroying the people who hurt you. It isn't. Real revenge is watching them lose access to the version of you that loved them, trusted them, protected them, and would have done anything for them. Emily lost a husband who would have forgiven almost anything. Daniel lost a friend who treated him like family. And me? I lost 2 liars. That was the best deal I ever made. Part 2, The Silence After Revenge. For the first few weeks after everything exploded, people expected me to fall apart. They expected rage. They expected drinking. They expected me to call Emily at midnight and ask why. But I didn't. That surprised everyone. Even me. I woke up every morning in a quiet rented apartment on the other side of town. No wedding photos. No smell of her perfume in the hallway. No second coffee mug beside the sink. Just silence. At first, I thought silence would kill me. Then I realized silence was the first honest thing I had lived with in years. The divorce moved fast because Emily knew I had proof. She cried during the first meeting with our lawyers. She wore the blue dress I used to love like memories could change evidence. She kept looking at me across the table. Not with love. With fear. Fear that I was no longer the man she could manipulate. I made a mistake, she whispered. I looked at the papers in front of me. No, I said. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. You built a second life behind my back. Her lawyer touched her arm, warning her to stop talking. But Emily couldn't stop. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. That was the moment I finally looked up. You betrayed me in front of God, our families, and the man I called my brother, I said. I just told the truth where people could hear it. She started crying again. This time it didn't move me. That scared me more than anything. Because once, her tears could break me. Now they were just noise. Daniel's situation got worse. Much worse. After I removed him from company operations, our accountant found more missing money. Not thousands. Tens of thousands. Fake materials. Fake subcontractors. Payments routed through names I had never heard before. The man who used to sit beside me at business meetings, laughing about our future, had been stealing from me while sleeping with my wife. There was a special kind of sickness in that. The police got involved. Daniel called me once. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. His voice sounded smaller than I remembered. Please, he said. We need to talk. I sat in my apartment looking out the window at the rain. There is no we anymore. Look, I know I messed up. I laughed quietly. That word again. Messed up. Like he had dropped a glass. Like he had missed a deadline. Like he hadn't walked into my house, smiled at my table, hugged me like family, and destroyed everything behind my back. You didn't mess up, Daniel, I said. You made choices. He breathed hard into the phone. My wife left. I know. My kids won't talk to me. I know. I could lose everything. I leaned back in my chair. You should have thought about that before you tried to take mine. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then his voice cracked. Was it worth it? Humiliating us like that. I looked at my empty apartment. The boxes still unpacked. The cheap lamp in the corner. The divorce papers on the table. The life I had to rebuild from ashes. No, I said. What would have been worth it was never having trusted you. Then I ended the call. That was the last time I spoke to Daniel as a friend. A month later, Emily came to the company office. I wasn't expecting her. I was in the conference room with 2 clients when my assistant knocked on the glass door and looked uncomfortable. Your wife is here. I corrected her automatically. Ex-wife. Emily stood in the lobby wearing sunglasses, even though it was cloudy outside. She looked thinner. Tired. Not broken exactly, but close. When she saw me, she took off the glasses. Her eyes were red. Can we talk? I should have said no. But there was a part of me that wanted to see what was left of the woman I married. So I led her into my office and closed the door. For a moment she just looked around. The walls were different now. Daniel's photos were gone. His name had been removed from the company sign. His office was empty. You erased him fast, she said. I removed a thief. She flinched. Then she looked at me. And me? I said nothing. Her mouth trembled. Did you erase me too? That question almost reached something inside me. Almost. I opened the drawer and took out a small envelope. Inside was my wedding ring. I had taken it off the night I left the anniversary party. I placed it on the desk between us. I didn't erase you, I said. You erased yourself from my life. She stared at the ring. I still love you. No, I said quietly. You miss being loved by me. That hit her harder than anger would have. She sat down slowly. I was lonely, she whispered. I shook my head. I was working to build the future you said you wanted. I know. You could have talked to me. I know. You could have left. I know. You chose my best friend. She covered her face. There it was. The truth. No excuses could soften it. No tears could clean it. She looked up at me and said something I never expected. I thought you would forgive me. For the first time in weeks, I felt anger rise in my chest. Not loud anger. Cold anger. The worst part, I said, is that you were probably right. She froze. If I had found out early, if you had confessed, if Daniel hadn't been stealing, if you hadn't lied to my face every single day, maybe I would have destroyed myself trying to save us. Her tears fell silently. But you didn't stop. You kept going because you thought my love made me weak. She whispered, I never thought that. Yes, you did, I said. You just didn't say it out loud. She had no answer. Before she left, she asked one final question. Do you ever miss me? I looked at her for a long time. And I told the truth. I miss who I thought you were. Her face collapsed. She nodded once, picked up her purse and walked out of my office. That night, I sat in my truck for almost 20 minutes before driving home. Not because I wanted her back. Because grief is strange. Sometimes you don't mourn the person. You mourn the version of your life that died with them. A few months passed. The divorce became final on a cold Monday morning. No dramatic speech. No final argument. Just signatures. Emily sat across from me at the courthouse, quiet and pale. Daniel wasn't there, but his shadow was. His betrayal had stained everything. When the judge confirmed it was done, Emily started crying. I didn't. I thought I would. But I didn't. Outside the courthouse, she followed me down the steps. Please, she said. I stopped. She looked smaller than I remembered. I know I don't deserve anything from you, she said. But tell me one thing. Are you happy now? I looked up at the gray sky. Happy? No, not yet. But I was free. And sometimes freedom comes before happiness. I'm not yours anymore, I said. That's enough for today. Then I walked away. Behind me she cried. In front of me the world felt empty. But it was mine. For the first time in 7 years, every step I took belonged only to me. Daniel eventually lost the case with the company. He tried to settle quietly. I let my lawyer handle it. People told me I should enjoy watching him fall. But I didn't enjoy it. That's what people misunderstand about revenge. The movies make it look clean, powerful, satisfying. In real life, revenge doesn't heal the wound. It just makes sure the knife belongs to the person who used it. Daniel lost his money. Emily lost her marriage. They both lost their reputations. And I still had to wake up every morning and rebuild myself from nothing. But I did rebuild. Slowly. One honest day at a time. I started running again. I changed the locks on my new place. I stopped checking Emily's social media. I stopped imagining what I should have said differently. I stopped asking why. Because why is a trap. Sometimes people betray you because they are selfish. That's the whole answer. 6 months after the divorce, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. But I knew her handwriting immediately. Emily. I stood at the kitchen counter for a long time before opening it. Inside was one page. She wrote that she was sorry. That she had started therapy. That Daniel had meant nothing compared to what she lost. That she understood now how much damage she caused. And at the end she wrote, Asterisk, I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I finally understand. Asterisk. I read it twice. Then I folded it carefully. For a moment I almost kept it. Then I walked outside, lit a small fire in the metal pit behind my house, and watched the letter burn. Not because I hated her. Because I was done carrying her words. That night I slept better than I had in a year. And when morning came, I woke up before sunrise, made coffee and opened the windows. The air was cold, clean, quiet. I looked at the empty chair across from me and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not perfect peace. Not movie-ending peace. Real peace. The kind you earn after life tears you open and you choose not to become cruel. People asked me later if I regretted exposing them at the anniversary party. I always gave the same answer. No. Because betrayal grows in darkness. And sometimes the only way to end it is to turn on every light at once. Emily and Daniel thought they were hiding a secret. But secrets are expensive. Eventually, someone always pays. This time it wasn't me. Part 3 final, the life they could never take from me. A year after the divorce, I thought the story was over. Emily was gone. Daniel was gone. The house was sold. The company was finally stable again. And I had built a life that was smaller, quieter, and more honest than the one I had before. I lived near a lake now, in a modest house with a wooden porch and old floors that creaked in the morning. It wasn't the kind of place Emily would have chosen. No marble counters. No perfect guest room.